Hey, it's Chris, and I want to say thank you to our veterans, active duty military, and first responders for serving our great nation. You're listening to The Chris Carlisle Show, hosted by me, Chris Carlisle. How are you doing? That's good. It's going to be the Chiefs and the Eagles in the Super Bowl. They had the Royal Rumble last Saturday. Cody Rhodes won the men's match while Rhea Ripley won the women's match. So Cody Rhodes is going to challenge the undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, while Rhea Ripley will challenge SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. Looking back at history, first January 26th, the U.S. voted to boycott the Moscow Olympics in 1980. The Dukes of Hazzard premiered on CBS in 1979. The Bears won the Super Bowl XX over the Patriots in 1986. And Kobe Bryant is killed in a helicopter crash in 2020. January 27th, the Nazi concentration camp Auschwitz is liberated in 1945. The National Geographic Society is founded in 1888. Dante is exiled from Florence in 1302. John Lennon wrote and recorded the song Instant Karma in one day, back in 1970. The Shelby GT350 debuts in 1965. And in 1967, astronauts Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee were killed in the Apollo 1 pad fire. January 28th, the Space Shuttle Challenger explodes in 1986. The song We Are the World is recorded in 1985, and the American League is founded in 1901. On January 29th, the Baseball Hall of Fame elects its first class in 1936. The poem The Raven is published in 1845. Paul Newman married Joanne Woodward in 1958. Peter, Paul, and Mary signed their first recording contract in 1962. The movie Dr. Strangelove premieres in 1964, and the miniseries Roots premieres in 1977 on ABC. On January 30th, Gandhi is assassinated in 1948. The Lone Ranger debuts on radio in 1933. And U.S. speed skater Dan Jansen sets the world record in the 500 meters in 1994. January 31st, President Truman announces the development of the H-bomb in 1950. The House passes the 13th Amendment to the Constitution ending slavery in 1865. The first McDonald's opens in the Soviet Union in 1990. and the Apollo 14 heads to the moon in 1971. February 1st, 20 years ago, the space shuttle Columbia disintegrates on a re-entry in 2003. The Oxford Dictionary debuts in 1884. The Nipplegate controversy involving Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson happens at halftime of Super Bowl LVIII in 2004. The movie The Misfits premieres in 1961 with Clark Gable. I think Marilyn Monroe is in it too. House of Cards streams for the first time on Netflix in 2013. Harriet Tubman becomes the first black woman to appear on a U.S. postage stamp. And in 1913, Jim Thorpe signs a contract to play baseball for the New York Giants. Actor-comedian Garrett Morris, actor, writer, producer Billy Mooney, actress Sherilyn Fenn, comedian Pauly Shore, actor Michael C. Hall, singer Harry Styles, comedian Tom Smothers, singer Graham Nash, actor Bill Hopkins, actor Brent Spiner, actress Blythe Danner, actress Morgan Fairchild, actor Nathan Lane, actress Isla Fisher, singer Alice Cooper, and country singer Clint Black. The first Super Bowl that I remember sitting down and watching, I do remember 13 and 14, but I only watched a bit of it, was Super Bowl 15 after the 1980 season between the Oakland Raiders and the Philadelphia Eagles. Played on January 25th, 1981 at the Louisiana Superdome in New Orleans. I watched it on NBC with Dick Enberg on play-by-play, joined by Marilyn Olsen, Len Dawson, and John Brody on commentary. It was on the radio on CBS with Jack Buck and Hank Stram. The 1980 Raiders finished the 11-5 record for second place in the AFC West. Al Davis was the owner and also the general manager. Tom Flores was the head coach. There were also at least 4 lawsuits filed over Davis's announced move to Los Angeles, which he would finally do in 1982. He later moved back to Oakland before his son Mark moved the team to Las Vegas. There was a protest by fans at a game at the Coliseum that was on Monday Night Football. They waited 5 minutes before entering, and at the 2-minute warning of each half, they held up signs that said, "Save our Raiders." It was estimated that 2/3 of the seats were empty at the beginning of the game. In the offseason, they traded quarterback Ken Stabler to the Houston Oilers for quarterback Dan Pastorini. The Raiders started the season with a 2-3 record. Pastorini got hurt and was replaced by backup Jim Plunkett. It turned out to be a good fit for the Raiders. Lester Hayes led the league in interceptions with 13. They beat the Oilers 27-7 in the AFC wildcard game, beat the Browns 14-12 in the AFC divisional round, and they beat the Chargers, the division rival, 34-27 in the AFC championship, becoming the first AFC team to get to a Super Bowl. The 1980 Eagles were owned by Leonard Toews. Their GM was Jim Murray. Their coach was Dick Vermeil, and they won the NFC East with a record of 12-4. And they selected 10 players in the 1980 draft. They beat the Minnesota Vikings 31-16 in the NFC divisional round, and beat division rival Dallas 20-7 in the NFC championship. I went for the Raiders, by the way. Plunkett was the NFL Comeback Player of the Year, and he was also the MVP of the Super Bowl. 7 players became Hall of Famers, as well as Raiders owner Al Davis, and the 2 coaches, Tom Flores and Dick Vermeil. The final score was the Raiders 27, the Eagles 10. The Raiders became the first team to win a Super Bowl. They found one of the biggest meteorites ever in Antarctica. Here's a story I found in my book, Read, Laugh, Repeat, 101 Laugh Out Loud Stories from the Chicken Soup for the Soul book series compiled by Amy Newmark. It's called Masked Bandits, and it was submitted by John Scanlon. He wrote that his dad prided himself in the gardens that he saw each summer. He beamed over the tomatoes, radishes, and watermelons, but he was most pleased with the sweet corn. Only problem with his garden was it was next to a ravine with a stream that made it prime country for raccoons, who love sweet corn. So one summer, he was checking his garden, and he found raccoon tracks in the soft-tilled dirt He also found bent over corn stalks with empty shanks where his corn used to be. She had a recommendation from a friend, running an extension cord from his workshop down to the garden, plugging into his son's portable radio. He thought the loud music would scare the bandits away, so he went to bed that night. But he found the next morning that the raccoons had ravaged his corn again. He joked the marauders not only ate his corn, but changed the station on the radio. So he thought it would take a human guard to protect his corn. And he asked his son and his dog to to guard the garden. His son slept in a sleeping bag with his dog Queenie and his Daisy BB gun. The dog would sleep and was poised to pounce on anything. They waited until he fell asleep. Until Mr. Scanlon fell asleep, that is. Not Queenie. Queenie's a she. Anyway, Queenie barked. Mr. Scanlon sat up in his sleeping bag, and as Queenie bolted for the garden, Mr. Scanlon unzipped his sleeping bag and jumped up. Queenie ran into the corn stalks. He got his BB gun and went after her. Queenie went after something in the wooded ravine, and he lost sight of her. He called for her, came back to him, and they went back through the corn stalks. He told Queenie that no raccoon would try to steal corn on their watch. But when they got back, they found his pizza was gone. In passing, actress Lisa Marie Presley, the daughter of Elvis Presley, actress Diane Warshing, and actress Lisa Loring passed away recently. Here's a word from Scripture, from Psalms chapter 19, verse 14. The words of my mouth, and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. All right, we're news in the Super Bowl, what happened in history, who's got a birthday, who passed away, a word from Scripture, and look back at Super Bowl 15. Be sure to hit the download button, and leave a follow on whatever platform you're listening on. Leave a like and a rating. This is a presentation of Chris Carlisle's podcast. It's created, written, and produced, and hosted by me, Chris Carlisle, and is recorded on the Spreaker Studio app. Until then, have a good one. Hi, I'm Chris, and thank you for listening to my podcast, The Chris Carlisle Show. The Chris Carlisle Show is available on Spreaker. Please leave a like and a review, and also a follow. It's also available on Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeart, Podchaser, and Podcast Addict. And now, ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem.